For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble. Thanks for tuning in at thescribbleshow.com. I guess really on your podcast app is where still the technology is just beyond me. What a week this was. Holy cripes. And I hate to start out the show with a vulgarity like that, everybody, but this was a very strange week. And you almost want to say, thank goodness for the weekend, but not when there's a hurricane barreling down. Like, I don't even know. You know how there's some weeks where Monday morning you're just like, oh, it's going to be one hell of a week. It is going to be so long. And then maybe Wednesday rolls around. You're like, hey, you know what? The week wasn't really that bad. And then Thursday drags on, and then there's just some sort of cluster F, and your weekend is, not what you expected. Does that ever happen to you? I mean, look at what's been going on this week. And I'm not here to start talking politics and Wisconsin and hurricane and all that stuff, but obviously it's very overshadowing, right? I mean, so here's what we're going to do is for the next 28 minutes, we're not going to talk about that kind of stuff. Actually, I do have sort of a story about it's coronavirus related-ish. I'll talk about that. But no, we're just going to have 30 minutes of time-wasting fun this week. I'm going to talk about blind dates and dating and what else do I have here? And, reflecting on meeting Kenny Rogers, because we're coming up to the anniversary of when I met him, and the story about how that came to be. He was on our radio shows, and also there was a segment here on the podcast, and I think it's really interesting. Very rarely do we ever kind of give a behind-the-scenes glimpse of how celebrity interviews happen for our shows, but it's a very interesting story, and as you know, Kenny died a few months ago, and yeah, it's quite significant because I actually still have, I'll tell you about that coming up in a little bit. And the corona-related story is how, things are starting to open, and my mom is a little bit, she contradicts herself. I would say she's a hypocrite almost. She would never, ever go to the casino because it's so dirty and gross, and how are they going to keep it clean? Well, days after it reopened, it's like the clock was ticking. She had a countdown clock waiting for the casino to open, and the truth came out. She could not stay away. Our family trip to the casino in the wake of Corona is also coming up. So 30 minutes, sit back, relax, here we go.
Who are the Kardashians feuding with now? What did that little thug Justin Bieber do this time? Who's getting hitched? And who's headed for Splitsville? Hear the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. The good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the ridiculously hilarious. It's all recapped in this daily segment at entertainmentwrapup.com. Have a laugh at the expense of the rich and famous when they take themselves way too seriously. It's 3 minutes of time-wasting fun at entertainmentwrapup.com. Check out Entertainment Wrap-Up at entertainmentwrapup.com. Brought to you by Speak Free Books.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on The Scribble. Like a lot of people during lockdown or quarantine, what is it? Lockdown, quarantine, isolation, shutdowns, what is the word? I've got a bone to pick with the English language here, and I realize that thanks to texting and social media eras, we've bastardized the language to no end. But we have too many words for the same thing. And I remember at the beginning of the virus going, is it coronavirus? COVID-19? Like, why do we need so many names? And this only really came to light a few years ago when I was starting to teach my husband English. He knew English before coming to North America from Brazil. But he's got these workbooks just like you'd have as a child. And he's going through, now yes, this book is teaching him proper English. Not the way that you speak it, though. This is the thing, right? And so he would ask me, what's the difference between a cabinet and a cupboard? And I'm kind of sitting there going, well, those words are sort of interchangeable. I said a cabinet is usually in a bathroom, like it's not quite as deep. A cabinet is something that's more narrow. Now here I am, the English expert, right? The best-selling author, the so-called self-proclaimed language expert, and I'm kind of like, I don't really know the answer to some of these things. And he's using the words correctly that the book is teaching him. So yes, he's absolutely learning it the proper way, but then I'm sitting here going, well, that's not how people say it. Like, if you say it like that, people are going to look at you weirdly, like you just learned it out of a book, kind of a thing. So it's very bizarre to sit there and tell somebody, yeah, don't learn it the right way because you're going to look stupid. You're going to sound stupid. You want to dumb it down for today's society is kind of how you do it. And again, you don't think about that until you're having to, if you're a parent and you're teaching your child to speak, in English. There's no basis there though, unless you're starting out with a book and you're accompanying that learning, right? That education. And it was fascinating to me to go and say, like, these are things that I just kind of take for granted, that over the years, over my 30-some years, I just hadn't thought about it. I just didn't, when I say it's a cabinet in the bathroom, but in the kitchen it's a cupboard. I mean, that's just kind of the way it is. Is there a difference? But once you start to think about it and dissect it, that's really the only thing. I could easily probably just go to dictionary.com and look up the difference, but I just said, well, a cabinet is something that's, in a bathroom or in another room. A cupboard is something in a kitchen that holds, bigger items and groceries and things like that. I'm just pulling it out of my ass, everybody. And I have been for years with him. But anyway, so the language, this English language is just so strange, and it's ever evolving. So what was I even going to be talking about in this segment? How did I get onto that? Tim, or who's somebody? Oh, thank you. Yes, watching television. All right, that's how this started, and I got sidetracked. I've been watching a lot of TV, and I've discovered that the show Blind Date is back, and it's hosted, or it's voiceovered by Nikki Glazer, who I think is just hilarious. And do you remember that show? It was Roger Lodge back in the day. I think I was in junior high or high school. And it's fascinating and I have DVDs, by the way, from that. And it's something that I ended up digging out. I found the DVDs, and to compare the way dates go, and really on a TV show, you know where I'm going with this, is the phones. You didn't have phones back then on a date. And so when I realize that you're making a TV show, so it's not exactly, but I said, as soon as I saw one of the people approach their date clutching their cell phone and giving like a hug or handshake while the phone is in the other hand, I was like, done. We are done. Because to me, it's already setting the stage for, I can't let go of my phone. I need to hold it. And you know that I wrote the book called Put Down Your Damn Phone already. So I have an opinion on this one. But no, certainly after you pay for dinner, I am gone. And then it gets to that whole politics of, do you leave the phone on the table during dinner? Do you put it away? And I would be judging you. I would be judging you. I really would be. Now, I haven't had to go through this. I haven't done certainly a blind date, but I haven't done the dating thing. I haven't, had to get to know somebody in this social media age kind of a thing. But yeah, no, you would lose me right away. Or it's something that I would just be throwing in your face all night. Every time that you looked at your phone, I would make a comment. And you'd probably go and say, you're not some prize anyway, so like, who are you to tell me what I can and can't do? That's fine, but successfully married though for many years here. Anyway, but yeah, I just the one thing that it made me remember is when I was in my early 20s and I was going out, I was meeting people. I always just considered it to be hanging out. I never said that we're on a date. Oh, I've got a date with somebody tomorrow. Oh, I never did say that. I always viewed it as hanging out, and I don't know why in the moment I thought that. I realized later that it was that I didn't want to put an expectation on it, because to me, it always just seemed so strange. Going to dinner with somebody and then sitting across from them and you're basically interviewing each other. I had no desire to do that. You're sizing me up. You're seeing it. You're not giving it a chance. Now, if we were to go to, the park and play with my dogs, or if we go and do something that's a little bit more casual, where we're not having to interview each other and it's not so serious, maybe you are sizing me up the entire time, but it's just not, I don't know, because there's other distraction and interaction and you're not, God, I'm rhyming now. Interaction, distraction. So yeah, it wouldn't work for me. But anyway, so the point is that I do remember when I was in my early 20s going for dinner with a guy. I don't remember his name, and I remember exactly where we were. I remember in the parking lot of the restaurant where we were. And we had known each other, whether it was from a bar or something or from a friend. Again, this is before the days of social media, so we did not meet on the internet. It was good conversation in the car on the way there. He was driving, I was a passenger. And when we get to the restaurant, and he goes and he reaches to the back and he's like, just have to get my man purse. I was done. And not saying done in the sex way. I checked out. I could not let that go for the entire evening that we were together for dinner. And I just couldn't. Now, I think back then I was a little bit more polite. I held my tongue a little bit. And again, not in the sexual way. But I just could not get that. I still hear him saying it. Because there's no way that you can say that in a masculine, manly way. I've got to get my man purse. Like, I don't know. I hear it. And so for me, it just wasn't appealing to me. It just wasn't using that term or there was just something about it that I checked out and I said, no thanks. So there you go. Here I went on this big rant about you sizing me up during the course of conversation and you're very quick to go and write me off, whatever. That's all it took for me when I was in my 20s, that I would judge you based on that. So, I don't know. Like I said, if that's an indication of whether it's femininity, I didn't know, but there was just something, right? Have you ever gone on a date and you're just kind of like, it was just a no? Maybe there were some good moments, but you just went home and went, no. Yeah, I can't pinpoint what it is, but no. And so for me, yeah, I could have been a D-bag, but I remember he was my ride too, so I could have just left. I could have escaped. It was the restaurant was in the parking lot of a mall, so really I theoretically could have. Well, I guess I could have run it on the check, but that would have, you don't want to wait till he pays though to make sure. And then I could have excused myself to the bathroom and then just took off. Right? There was no social media, so it's not like he could stalk me. And I guess he knew where I lived though. He picked me up. So. Anyway, live at jvonair.com. Live at jvonair.com.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate, at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate, at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on the Scribble, just looking at the calendar, and there's a really big day coming up, at least for me anyway. It's probably not going to mean anything to you unless you have, a relative or some other significant event on that day. But September 3rd, 2015 was the day that I met Kenny Rogers. And I got to tell you this story because it was, right now, my arms, I swear to you, I'm not joking. I just got chills and goosebump kind of thingies on my arm, but we had been attempting to get Kenny on our radio shows, our syndicated radio shows, for I don't know how many years. And when it comes to celebrity interviews, often they need to be promoting something for them to do an interview, right? Very rarely can you get them just, unless you're a friend of theirs, very rarely can you get them to just be like, yeah, I'll come on and talk for 8 minutes. I'm not promoting anything. I'm not going to get anything out of it, but sure, what the hell, I'll give you 8 minutes of content. It can happen, but it's rare. And so Kenny was doing a tour, and he happened to be coming through my hometown of Winnipeg, Manitoba. And for months, this is even I would say at least 4 or 5 months before the actual concert, we wanted to do a phone interview to help promote the tour. Now, let's be honest here. Kenny Rogers don't need me to help him sell tickets, right? I mean, like him or hate him, whether you think that he's old and he's past his prime or whatever, bottom line is that he's a music legend. he's going to go on tour. People are going to buy tickets. So that's what I'm saying. And that's with all due respect to him, of course. And so it was always no. And then the concert did sell out. And so it was kind of like, well, why would we need him to do press? It's not going to sell tickets. It's not whatever. And I just thought, well, he's got the rest of the tour, though, right? He's got other dates that aren't on sale yet or what have you. And it was always no. So just in this last Hail Mary attempt, the concert was on a Thursday. I remember this distinctly. The concert was on a Thursday, and it was Tuesday night, and I thought, what the hell? Let me email the publicist one more time and just see. Maybe we can get him from his hotel room in Winnipeg. Maybe we can, as he's on his way. Maybe he's, getting frisked at the border. And just one last Hail Mary attempt. I got the reply that was no. We can't do a phone interview. But do you want tickets to the show and do an interview there? How do you not say no? Or how do you not say yes? I'm sorry. Whoa, totally set that one up wrong. How do you not say yes to that kind of an offer? That's not even like one step up. That's taken a leap 10 stories high in the air from what I was asking. Right? And it's very similar to what happened with Betty White's 90th birthday. Again, NBC was doing this big, TV special, whatever. I was just wanting a phone interview. No. All of a sudden, it's like, hey, do you want to come cover the red carpet in Hollywood? Durr. And so, back to Kenny. So this is like Tuesday night, about 11 o'clock. None of my radio colleagues are around, right? This was just something that I did from my phone. I was like, what the hell? Nobody knew that I did this. All of a sudden, at about 11 o'clock p.m. is when I get that reply. And I'm not telling you, I was blowing up phones. We don't have a big staff. We've got 7 people. I was blowing up phones probably into midnight, 1 a.m. going, we have got to do this, and we have got to do this live. And they were all like, we can't. No, we can't. Sure enough, we made it happen. And so come Wednesday, now the sun is back out, and it's now Wednesday morning, Wednesday early afternoon. I'm just like, I am meeting Kenny Rogers in 24 hours. I don't know what the hell kind of show we're doing. I'm not sure exactly how this is going to play out. I don't know if I've got 30 seconds with him, but I want airtime. Get me airtime. And then it was like, wait a second, you've got 2 tickets to the show. Now, keeping in mind that it's not just a matter of like radio colleagues going and saying, we'll watch the show after. No, they got work to do. So I can have 2 tickets to the show. Well, on a Thursday evening, the day before, I'm asking around, I'm asking people, no. Finally, I get in touch with my mom, and she says, well, that's your brother's birthday. And I said, okay, so you want to come or not? Really? You've got a choice between 2 sons right now, Mom. Do you want? And my brother was like 42. It wasn't a milestone birthday anyway, is my point. But I said, you can come and meet Kenny Rogers, because you're not just coming to the show. You're gonna meet him before I do my interview with him. Or you can go and go to Chuck E. Cheese with my brother and his kids and what have you. So Kenny won out, let's be honest. And so so Wednesday afternoon and evening, we're coordinating this radio show. I'm fielding texts and calls from my mom, who's like practically hyperventilating, wanting to know, should I wear a dress? Should I wear jeans? Should I get like a hat? Should I, and I just thought, oh my. Now it's cute because my mom, actually that's not true. She has met, I was going to say my mom has never met a celebrity. She has. When she was pregnant with me, my mom and dad won tickets to a Journey concert, and they got to go in the limo, and they got to do all this other stuff, and they got to meet the band. And yes, my mom will tell this story. She has a black and white photo. I'm not that old, but she's got a black and white photo from backstage. My parents with Journey. She tells this story all the time. Your first concert was Journey. You weren't even born yet, blah, blah, blah. So I said, great. I'm going to take you to Kenny Rogers. And it is sort of a full circle moment when you think about it, because this is somebody who, like I said earlier, like him or hate him, he's a music legend, right? So if you have the opportunity. And I remember my cousin was obsessed with him. She had this big crush on Kenny when, again, I was probably 4 or 5. We were out camping. My grandparents had this trailer, took it to a campground, and the radio was playing, and Kenny Rogers would come on, and my cousin would always be Gaga. So it was, Lady or The Gambler, whatever it was. And so there's this full circle moment when all of a sudden it's like now you're an adult, and one, you're not only just meeting your legend, two, you're also playing his music on your radio show as your career, right? This is part of your life. And three, you get to hang out with him. And so we had arranged for our live broadcast. We had a live segment, and I believe that we actually had the audio on this show, if I'm not mistaken, on the podcast. And it was pretty cool. Now, I am not somebody who gets nervous or frazzled. And when I do celebrity interviews, I don't work off of note cards. I really don't. I know that I'm on the radio and I'm on a podcast, so you can't see me. But when I've done red carpets and things like that, I will get briefed on some talking points. But I never have a sheet of questions. Ever. Never. I never do that when I do celebrity interviews. And so when I was waiting in line, he was doing a meet and greet, and so we were told to just sort of hang back because me and the entourage, of course, right? And all of the people who paid to do the meet and greet would go and see Kenny first, and then we were the last ones. And so Kenny was aware. He knew what was going on. It was his invitation as well. And we go into the room. We could do the backdrop. I get a picture with him. My mom gets a picture with him. And we're kind of lingering. My folks are sort of prepping me. They had told me that we've got a few minutes with him. And I said, great, if we can do 4 minutes, I would be happy. I'm certainly, we weren't going to do a 2-hour broadcast of Top of the Charts. I was fully aware of that. But they said, no, we'll you can do it. And so I said, great. So I said hi to him again after we had done the photo, shook his hand, and he said, well, he was feeling lightheaded. And so he asked his people if we could do the interview in his dressing room. And so basically he sort of took the lead. He took charge and said, come with me. And so here I am walking down the hallway with Kenny Rogers at the Club Regent Casino. And at first you can sort of see, security is kind of like looking at me because, I look like I'm 12 years old. Here I am walking down, and he's not telling me to get lost. So obviously they're kind of like, okay, well this is okay. And then our respective entourages are in tow, following behind. And sure enough, we go into his dressing room. I said, thanks so much for doing this. He was very charming, very humbled that somebody like me wanted to interview him. Somebody young, fresh-faced radio personality wanted to interview him. And we had, I think it was about 9 minutes. But it was just great. It was just, he's sitting on a couch. I'm sitting on this big cushy chair. He asked if I wanted something to eat or drink. I didn't, because I planned, not a joke, I planned on slamming back drinks after, because I thought this is a really cool moment and I just want to, drink it up, literally, I guess, quite honestly. And so, no, I didn't have any drinks. I was just there. It was cool. There I am in my jeans and my black shirt. I still see the picture. And believe it or not, in this studio, because as we know, he just passed a few months ago, but I still have my wristband and my ticket from the Kenny Rogers concert, and there's a framed picture of us on the desk beside me here. But so this is, again, one of those moments where I wasn't starstruck. I didn't, geek out and do that, but I was very professional, very respectful. And to me, this is somebody who is truly appreciative that after all these years, after all these decades, people are still wanting to hear from him and play his music and come to his shows even. So it was great. When he did go out on stage for the show, he did have a stool that he was sitting on. He kind of forgot the words to the lyrics to some of the songs. But again, you're there to see him and all that is him. Does that make sense? Do you know what I mean by that? It's just kind of, it's like if you're going to a Britney Spears or Paula Abdul concert, you're going there to see them dance and rock the stage, right? If you're going to see Cher, you're going to see the spectacle that is. I don't care if she's not singing. And so with Kenny, it was sort of the same thing. You're just there. You just want to see him do what he loves, which is music. So September 3rd, 2015 was the day that I met Kenny Rogers, and was probably, aside from Betty White's 90th birthday, was probably one of the biggest highlights of my career was, hey, come into my interview. Let's do an interview there. Come into my dressing room. Let's do an interview there.
It's never too early to start thinking about your next holiday. Have you checked out Mexico recently? From tequila tasting, swimming with horses, to ziplining through the jungle and watching whales and dolphins in their natural habitat, Puerto Vallarta has it all. Visit mexico.jbonair.com to see all the fun PV has to offer. That's at mexico.jbonair.com for hundreds of photos, interviews, and videos from around the tourist hotspot. Check out mexico.jbonair.com for all the fun. That's mexico.jbonair.com.
Jeremy Bradley back here on the Scribble. Interesting story about my parents. And again, I don't talk too much about my family on the show, unless it's something fun to make fun of somebody, but I don't really talk about my family. My parents celebrated their anniversary, and we typically will all go to the casino for whether their birthday, Mother's Day, Father's Day, anniversary, whatever it is. And so the casino had just opened, after the Corona shutdowns and things like that. And my mom comes to walk the dogs with me maybe once or twice a month. My parents don't live that far from me. And it's almost like she had a countdown clock because it was closed for several months, right, during the shutdowns. And it was, you can sort of tell she's waiting for it. She wants the casino to reopen. But then it's sort of like making it seem like she's disgusted that they would open it because, how are you going to keep it clean? You're going to have to, everybody touches the machines and the chairs and it's so dirty and whatever. That's just going to be so bad. They're going to have to do this and this and this. But to me, like, your opinion is so strong on this. It is just so like this is how I feel this way. Nobody has a strong opinion about something like that unless they're actually interested. Do you know what I mean? So I was kind of like, all right, fine. And then to hear that my parents we went for dinner and then my parents wanted to do the casino after. And my brothers, none of us are gamblers except my parents. Because remember, I'm a best-selling author of a cheapskate book, so I'm not going to a casino and sliding $20 bills in. And my brothers, are married and they're raising kids. There's 2 kids in one family, 3 kids in the other, and certainly the wives don't want them throwing money away at a casino. But I just don't find it fun. Like I'm not interested in it. So at dinner is when my parents kind of sprung the idea about going to the casino after, and like I said to my mom. But you were the one that just said, like a week ago or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, that you're not going to the casino because that's going to be so gross and it's going to be so dirty and how can they keep it clean and all those things. Well, come to find out, this is even what's crazier, is that we had their anniversary dinner. Let's say it was night 4 or 5 since the casino had opened. And we're kind of sitting there going, all right, well, it'll be interesting to see like what they've done and the changes they've made. Well, through the course of conversation, and I don't know that they were trying to hide it at first, they had gone on night 2 that the place had opened. So who are you trying to fool here? Like, you were just so disgusted and couldn't believe. I'm just repulsed. That's an outrage that they're opening the casino. But I'm going to go on day 2 to check it out. And again, they had not alluded to it at all. Now, come to think of it, I had actually had an interaction with both of my parents, actually, between day 2 and 5, whatever it was. I had an interaction with them between those 2 days, and it was not mentioned that they went to the casino. It was not mentioned like, oh, well, we know what it's like now because we went and blah, blah, blah. And so my parents aren't addicted to gambling. I don't want to make it seem like they're hardcore gamblers. They will go, like I said, maybe twice a week, and they're certainly not putting, $200 into a slot machine, $400 into a slot machine. I've been with them. I've seen what they do. They're fairly conservative. $20, $40. My mom freaked out when I played $1 on a spin on a slot machine. So it's not like they're going to the tables at, poker and whatever and blowing hundreds and hundreds of dollars. They're not like that. They're playing like the 1 cent machines and things like that. But still, the point is that, when somebody makes such a big deal, you kind of sit there and go, really? You're not going to go? I find this hard. You've basically had like a tally chart, a scoreboard on the wall saying that it's been closed for 90 days. I mean, come on. So we went there, and the thing that frustrates me with casinos, and I think I've mentioned this before, is that I don't understand why I'm winning. I don't get when it was 777 cherry 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 bar lemon lemon lemon. I got that, and it maddens. I'm irritated. I'm frustrated. Like, I don't know why I'm winning. I should be happy I'm winning. I'm actually there's money coming up. There's coins flying all over the screen. I'm winning. But I don't know why, and that it bothers me. It really aggravates me. So, you'd think that people are like raising their hands and clapping and hooting and hollering, and I've got a scowl on my face going, why did I win? But I've got to figure this out. Enter then, my parents who can, whip through and say, oh, you had this one, you had a dragon, you had a cow, you had a bell, you had a whatever. And I'm like, I still don't get it. Yeah, we're not gamblers in our generation of my brothers and me. So tell me your thoughts live at jbonair.com.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up The Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
Once again, feel free to give me a shout anytime. It's always awesome hearing from you. The email address, live@jbonair.com. That's live@jbonair.com. Thanks so much for tuning in. You know what? I'm not here to change the world and protest and campaign and get on a soapbox and change the world. I just want to keep you distracted for 30 minutes because it's a crazy world, as I said at the top of the show, and we just need some lightheartedness every once in a while. So my name is Jeremy Bradley. This is The Scribble. I hope you will join me again next week. If you haven't listened to our other 290-some episodes, please do so, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.